Good morning and welcome to today's video. So in one of my Craftily Distancing live streams in April, I mentioned that Sam was going to be making homemade pasta sauce, and I asked if anyone was interested in me making a video about this. People were, so I did. So we tried to video with Sam actually making the sauce, but the blender was really loud. Our kitchen is not really big enough for two people, and we were falling over each other. So I'm going to give you the basics and we'll go from there. Let's get started making some pasta sauce. So I'm going to start out with an ingredient list for you. And this is directly from Sam, minus any special ingredients. And so the first thing you're going to need is a 5-quart minimum pot. Yes, 5-quart minimum pot. You will need dried oregano, a large can of tomato paste. You know the large cans that you see in the grocery store, like in Sam's, of tomato paste. You will need one of those. Sam's mentioning that if you can get fresh oregano, you should use fresh oregano. We did not have fresh oregano, nor did Walmart when we went to buy the supplies to make this have fresh oregano. So he went with dried oregano that we already had. You will need 1 to 2 large onions, depending on how much onion you and your family like. We spent $3 on a bag of onions so that we would have more, and they were smaller. So he used roughly about 2.5 of those to his liking. You will need 2 bulbs of garlic, not pulling off a couple of cloves. 2 full bulbs of garlic. Let me tell you, my Ninja smells like garlic. But it's a good smell. I just need to make sure and clean it really well so my smoothies don't have a garlicky aftertaste.
Delicious.
You can tell who's the Italian in the family. You'll need fresh parsley and fresh basil. Now, Sam was able to find those at Walmart. They were $2 for a plant of fresh parsley and fresh basil. And so we will just plant them into another container and water them so we continue to have fresh herbs on hand. Now, this next portion is something that we picked up because we needed them anyway. We picked up 1 case of mason jars. Now, you do not have to do this part. If you're planning just to make a small batch of this, of course, you're not going to need the huge jar. If you're making this to can and put away, roughly from my estimation, it comes down to about $2 per quart-sized jar of spaghetti sauce. Now, you might be saying, well, Lena, I can go to Dillon's and buy a $1 can of Hunt's spaghetti sauce. You've talked about this in another budget-friendly Friday recipe. Now, that is very true. But I also know that there are people who are gluten-free, who are keto, who cannot use canned or jarred sauces commercially made because they have a higher sodium content. They've got other ingredients that they are trying to stay away from. This is a pure, fresh recipe with none of the extra additives. Your next question is, how do I keep it safe? Well, you're going to have to can it. You can either do a water bath, which I 100% encourage you to Google the instructions, or go to Ball or Kerr, which are the 2 canning jar companies, and find recipes on water bathing, or you can invest in a pressure canner, which is going to really be your best bet to can.
Or being an Italian family and don't need to can it because it'll all be gone before then.
If you didn't catch that, Sam said, or be a large Italian family, that this would feed 1 person 1 meal. So, the way the process works is that you're going to chop all of your onion, your garlic, down to very small size. Sam, instead of taking time to just chop, he threw everything in my Ninja and blended it and threw it into the pot. Then he simply opened and dumped in his can of tomato paste. He added the oregano, the parsley, the basil, the onion, the garlic. He stirred everything together, and it's simmering on the stove as we speak, and it smells fantastic. I'll give you a shot of it here. Right. So here is the spaghetti sauce. Kind of sorry that there's stuff on the stove where you are cooking, but it is smelling so good. If you're noticing little lumps, bigger lumps in it, Sam has thrown some frozen meatballs that were broken up to make this more of a meat-based sauce. Oh, I wish you guys had smell-o-vision. Smells so good.
Make sure you stir it regularly.
What?
Said make sure you stir it regularly.
Why do you need to
stir? You
stir?
don't want it sticking.
Yum. Did that not look amazing? Like I said, it is... I wish that I had smell-o-vision for you guys. My whole house smells like an Italian restaurant. Not that that's a bad thing, but now I'm really wanting garlic bread. I might be making garlic bread later. Yum. So, while I was going back from the kitchen back in here, Sam did make the comment that if you are making this from scratch, that you really need to be able to keep an eye on it and stir it pretty frequently, because otherwise...
Preferably wooden spoon.
Preferably with a wooden spoon, but I have plastic spoons, and he didn't buy a wooden spoon, so...
They didn't have any at the store. Apparently
they didn't have any at Walmart. Or Dollar Tree. Make sure to stir it consistently, otherwise it can stick. So just make sure that you have the time to dedicate to keeping an eye on it. This is going to make several quarts of spaghetti sauce. And once it is done cooking, I'll let you know how much it made. All right, so it is the next day. Sam and I enjoyed a wonderful lunch. We ended up making up a box of bow tie noodles and had sauce. I think I had just a really small portion. The day that Sam was making spaghetti sauce, Easter Sunday, I just wasn't feeling real great. We were having some weather shifts and just massive amounts of 50, 60 mile per hour winds. And it got to the point where like I couldn't function. So I laid down a majority of the rest of that day. So I just had this small little bit of pasta and Sam actually finished up the box. And so that's a lot of pasta sauce. So after we were done, and Sam cooked meatballs in it. And here, I'll insert a picture right up here of Sam's plate. Divide that like into fourths. And I had one little fourth. So Sam and I talked about it, and we decided to put the meatballs in a separate container so that we could use the sauce for more than just spaghetti sauce. So we have one of the deep Rubbermaid containers full of wonderful meatballs that, as probably by the time you watch this video, they definitely will be gone. But we ended up with 3 quart jars plus 2 little small pint jars. After eating and after putting the meatballs in the container with sauce, Sam said that he'll probably end up, just using the sauce and warming it up separately. So would I find this a budget-friendly hack? It really ends up, I think, depending on what you want to pay per quart or for your spaghetti sauce, or if you are following some sort of dietary needs, whether you are trying to avoid certain ingredients in your sauces, if you're following keto or gluten-free, or your sodium, cholesterol. I definitely think making it homemade, knowing exactly what is in it, is a bonus for that. If you are trying to do things on the super cheap, I would really take and compare the cost of all of the ingredients and the time to make it against what you can buy in the store. Really, this budget-friendly Friday hack is one that you're going to have to make the decision for yourself. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, and we will see you in the next video. Bye!